is, and people are going to start rioting in the streets.
Was reported to have asked Putin for military support that would help him stay in power.
We will make America safe again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
And they ignore him. And 8 more years goes by till Bernie himself finally admits to his sons, hey, I've been running a Ponzi scheme.
Does its dominance mean it can use the alliance for its own ends?
Since 1981, bond yields, also known as coupon rates, have just gone down and down and down.
The Federal Reserve note will be your biggest financial liability. RTD Live Talk, Tuesday night, the 3rd day of July, and it's about 9:50, and I wanted to check in this evening. I've been tied up the last couple of days, so I've been away from the camera and away from the news, so I'm hoping to get caught up on what's happening out here. And so we have the day before Independence Day, so I'm looking forward to finding out what everyone has planned for tomorrow, and then also to find out what I might have missed from the news, since I haven't been keeping in touch the last 48 hours or so of what's happening globally as well as with the economy. So, as always, welcome to RTD Live Talk. If you have any new viewers, feel free to chime in via chat. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Always love to to welcome new viewers, and to basically just get a chance to give you a chance to share your thoughts and what's happening in your world, or what's some things that's on your mind tonight. So, other than that, let me see here. Last week's videos was quite interesting. Love to find out your thoughts on that, because the last live stream I did was in reference to basically just 2 options that I kind of left off with, saying that everyone kind of knows that something's happening with our economy. More and more there's news coming out about the Fed, even different federal board members are speaking out on policies, and so it seems like they're in disagreement on what's happening right now. So I kind of left it off with basically just 2 options, of which I believe they're going to utilize both, plus a third that may not even have been thought of yet, with the concept of bailing in for the banks, because they're going to need to recapitalize the banks, and then bail out for the citizens, which will basically just triple, quadruple their balance sheet to the point where it will become a currency malfunction down the line, and the Federal Reserve note will be under a lot of pressure, because at that point other central banks will begin doing the same type of things. So it's just going to be interesting to see how things pans out. But we got Spirit King, not in the U.S. Interesting. Thanks for tuning in wherever you're located, my friend. We got Pat, we got Scott, Delonzo. What's up, people? How you guys doing? And so what's new in your guys' world? What's new? Anybody have anything planned for tomorrow? Anything other than just food and family? Anything else going on for those that are in the United States of America and celebrating the 4th of July, as far as getting together with your family and friends and whatnot? Love to find out what's going on in your world. And then what I'm going to do is, looks like gold has bottomed. Have you seen the World Gold Cup markets tonight? But look out for Thursday and Friday. Could revisit last night's lows one more time. No, Pat, fill me in, my friend. Haven't really been paying attention to the market in reference to the metals, because one of the things, as I always mentioned before, we got Bakersfield, California in the house. Welcome. Johnny the Medicine Man. I'm with King Dude. So yeah, so one thing, I really tend not to pay attention to the price much, knowing that any minute now they're going to lose control of the manipulation, and at that point we will pretty much see the true price of what sound metal or sound money should be in comparison to all those Federal Reserve notes as well as digits that exist. It says, in New Jersey Township of Elizabeth, I noticed a lot of retail stores are closing up. Every grocery store are closing up, indicating that things not looking good. Very true. I've noticed more and more retail stores and the little shopping complexes on corners now. I'm noticing a lot of them. And what's funny is, off of the real busy streets, they're continuing to build. So that's what's amazing. That's what really surprises me, the fact they're continuing to build even though them boys are vacant. So we look like we had a call. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
My name is Wayne, and I'm calling from Florida.
Wayne from Florida. Welcome, my friend. How you doing this evening?
Doing good.
What's on your mind this evening?
I've been watching your show in and out, over the past couple months.
Okay.
And I'm just wondering. I hear a lot. I get about John Williams, the economist.
Yes.
Right. Oh yeah, I get his reports.
Okay.
And I was just wondering, how bad do you really think it's going to be with this transition for the dollar? I mean, is it going to be horrible, where it's a lot of violence? I see some scenarios like they stopping the food stamp, system and everything, and people can't get enough food, and they're getting hungry, and they're. You think it's really possible it'll get as bad as Venezuela?
Man, very good question. So I want to thank you for chiming in and calling in a very good question. In my honest opinion, I believe that the currency malfunctioning that will take place all around the world will eventually hit here with the Federal Reserve note. And I believe because we are in for the biggest shock of our lives, just because our entire monetary system, our economy is been glued together by this Federal Reserve note and the digits. So I believe that once, here's a graph. Let me see, where's the graph at? But the consumer dollar graph. And so just based upon that, and so from my last guest, Lynette Zhang, a while back, she mentioned how it could go below zero as far as purchasing power. And I've been trying to wrap my mind around what that will look like. And so using Venezuela will be the best example of what we might experience, but 10 times worse, because the entire world they're holding on to Federal Reserve notes as like the anchor to the global monetary system, as well as for when their currencies fail. So I think that eventually all those Federal Reserve notes will come home to roost, and we will see inflation like we could have never imagined. And so I think that they're more than aware of that. So I think there's also some things that they have planned to roll out, because if it was to hit the way that I believe it could hit, everybody would lose everything denominated in the Federal Reserve with that whole little dollar symbol. Everything labeled in that dollar symbol would it would leave a lot of people pissed. And at that point, people will hit the streets, and it would be every man for themselves on some Mad Max type of stuff, just because people, they don't see it coming, and everyone is believing that is not possible to the United States of America. So I think we would experience something very painful. And as Gregory Manorino mentioned a lot, in a very sad sense, there would be a lot of lives lost. So that's what I believe it would and is possible, given how they kind of roll this off and what they spin off from it. Hello?
Will happen, but it's very hard to imagine that happening, here in the United States. All the logical signs say, yeah, it is going to happen. It's inevitable because of the huge debt that's there.
Yeah.
And you see that they can't fix all the infrastructure and the, subway trains in New York breaking down, almost every day.
Yeah.
Things are just gradually getting worse and worse and worse. I guess it's just a matter of where is the breaking point that would trigger, all these calamities,
right,
one right after the other. I think, like I said, I believe it's true. It makes sense on paper. I think it's going to happen, but it's just hard for me to wrap my mind around it happening. I guess you're saying the same thing, so it's unimaginable.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I definitely agree with you with that.
And so I look at a variety. I enjoy studying different economies and different nations and how they respond to crises in their countries. And every government tend to print. Right. And it only gets worse. And so I can't see our government not looking to do the same thing, because our elected officials, they are aware that there's problems, but they've never been in a position to respond to such a globally systemic type of issue, because it's going to boil down to the banking sector. And so, like I mentioned, the Federal Reserve and all central banks are in place to protect their commercial banking structures, though, because they're the primary shareholders in each central bank. And so the best thing they can do is bail in all the depositors. So that's going to be how it hits first. And so based upon how they roll off from that, because I think they're going to issue, as it's mentioned in the Dodd-Frank Act, they're going to issue equity to all the deposit holders. And I think they might end up issuing off some type of crypto-based equity, which you can use as a currency amongst, you know, yourselves, given a smartphone and using your QR scanner type of thing. So they're gonna roll some things out as alternatives that will hopefully stave off some of the violence, but people are not going to be comfortable with not being able to go to the bank and withdraw. That's going to be a big problem because most people don't have no cash right now. So cash is going to be scarce for a quick second, and then they're going to start printing. Then it's going to become unlimited like it seems to happen everywhere else around the world. So I think we can learn a lot from what's happening in Venezuela, Zimbabwe, and what's happening in Argentina right now. Argentina the next year will be a primary example of, you know, pay attention to how their government responds to this current situation of just being in debt. They're going to begin to print even more than they have, and it's going to be the same result as Venezuela. And so, how can our policymakers be any different? Is my thing.
Yeah.
So,
like I said, I'm with you.
Yeah.
You're doing a good job.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. Thanks for calling. Appreciate it.
All right, bye.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very, very uncomfortable because all the world knows as the last anchor to their own national currencies is the Federal Reserve note. And so one of the things I was thinking about is, and even I asked my guest, Daniel Lacaille, you know, all countries know the dollar as their safe haven. They get dollars. Venezuela, they want dollars because they're scarce. Argentina, they want dollars. And I'm thinking, like, here's in the United States of America, what do we run to? And the only thing we can't run to is what is considered sound money, which is precious metals. And so people don't think of that. People think that, you know, we're going to be safe, everything around is going to crumble, and it won't happen to us. I just don't see how you can have that type of thought process knowing that we're under the same monetary system as everybody else. But, caller, thank you for that call. So let me get to some more questions. It says Social Security will be insolvent in 7 years. Social Security is already insolvent now, in my opinion. And if it wasn't for what they're able to collect now from current employees and what they're able to borrow on top of that, there wouldn't be nothing there. So I'm not 100% sure about that, but it's good to say we're running a $1 trillion budget deficit, of which that goes to a lot of those expenditures. So it's good to say it's already insolvent. Slow burn to bankruptcy. Says people won't be out of control because people don't realize in America we are heavily policed. You got the city, state police, county police, state police. Yeah, Tony, that's a good point there. But you got to remember also that the population, the public, has more firearm and ammunition than police forces as of now, apart from what the government bought a couple years ago to equip them. So there's more guns in the streets, to where the question would be, if you're a law enforcement agent and you're in the same predicament as we are, as far as your pension being gone, your retirement portfolio being gone, that automatically going to piss you off. Will you be willing to protect and serve still, other than every man for himself type of situation? Even though, using Venezuela as an example, Maduro did a good job of making sure that his military and his police force got fed first. They got all the luxury needs and items they needed to make sure their household was good, so that they could continue to go out to the streets and police things. So they also get the increase in pay right away, even though the currency is not worth nothing. But I guess you'll still take it if it's somebody else, or if it'll still buy you something. But yeah. Says, Mike, do you believe the fractional banking system is inherently bad? Is it at fault for the incoming crisis? Spirit King, very good question. Fractional reserve banking has put us in a position where we're in today. It is because of, and here's the thing, it was the central bank's original plan to position itself as the primary, as the overseer of our nation's money. And then from that point on, to expand the currency supply under its own control through commercial banking. And so the very idea that you can deposit $100, keep $10 in deposit, and duplicate $90 tenfold lets you know that something's wrong. And it has to come to an end, because you cannot exponentially continue to increase the digital supply of currency without there be a day of reckoning where people can't pay it back. So it was designed to fail. I'm not sure they were even aware that they can get 100 years out of it, because they've been doing it for 100 years, and the game is up because people are tapped out right now, and especially people in California. I've been seeing more, and I actually meant to share this, but if you Google, I'll probably find it, but if you Google California and campers, there's more and more people in California living in campers. I even saw an article today saying that if you make $117,000, if you're a family of 4 or more, and your average income or less is $117,000, you qualify for government assistance. Let me see if I can actually pull that article up. It was, I'm looking like $117,000 and a family of 4, you qualify for government aid. And so when I saw that, I'm like, yeah, that is going to be interesting, because I can't go on forever. Because it's good to say, whatever city that is, whatever area that is, they're probably on the verge of bankrupting their damn selves. Let me see if I can find it. Let me see. Let me Google that. Let me see. California. It says. Well, yeah, it'll take too long. But anyway, so Google it. You'll find it. But it's out there. It says, let me see. It says $100 trillion bill. Oh man. See. Bruce, that's a very good point. Like, here's the thing, and this where, the other day, if you guys had a chance, I actually got another video I'm going to come up with, but when I came out with, when I, demonstrated and showed you guys these bills here, we got the $5,000 note, which is basically a 50 with 2 zeros. When I demonstrated these here, this was in the mind frame of if we only had a national, if our currency was only domestic. Being that the Federal Reserve note is an international and it's a global reserve currency, there's no way they can roll these out, just because when inflation, because we're battling, we're fighting, we're currently underway. Look, the main talk, if you have noticed, is inflation. So they're very concerned about inflation. So once we get to 10%, where it's obvious and they can't fudge the numbers no more, that's when we run the risk of our currency really beginning to melt. That's when we drop. That's when we go sub-zero on the consumer dollar graph. And at that point is when we would ideally, because like in Argentina, a great example in Argentina is that they've been at 15, 20, 25, 30% inflation for the last couple of years. So hence the idea of them needing to add more zeros to their currency, because when you go to the store, the same goods that were $5 are now $50, and then the ones that were $75 are now $750. So it's just not enough small bills for that. So they needed to add more zeros. Whereas with us, all those dollars are going to come back rushing to this country, to where there's going to be more than enough paper to accommodate those needs of acquiring those goods. But the thing is, there's a finite amount of goods, so it's going to be, the supply and demand is going to be way off balance. We're going to have trillions upon trillions of dollars in papers and digits available, with a very small amount of goods and services. You can only go to Walmart and get so many towel paper. You can only go get so many cans of canned goods with all this abundance of paper. So the price is going to have to go up. And at that point is where the hell will break loose, and people are not going to want paper. So they're not going to be able to roll out some digits with some paper with digits behind it, in my opinion. So that was just an example of what, if we were on a domestic currency, what we could expect. And the next video I'm going to share with you guys that I haven't put together yet is how that could play out and the things to look for that would lead to that. It says inflation is a mofo. Yeah, San Francisco says, I think Sandman has a vid. It says, will California be turned into 3 states? John Miller. Man, I really don't follow. I know politically, they're very divided. They have different sections of the state that's all petitioning for a referendum, and they're trying to lead the state and this and that. But the whole problem with that is, as which Daniel Lacaille pointed out in our last interview, was that they want to secede from the state, but they want to keep the same political structure and the same monetary system base. So the point is, like, what's the point of seceding from the state if you're going to continue to do more of the same things? It's just that they want a clean slate, but more of the stupid stuff. So I'll see if that works out. It says, I'm in Sacramento. There are my communist police state out here. Cops are out of control. TV has my neighbors asleep. Yeah, Johnny, man, the biggest thing you can do is just prepare for yourself and pray for the best. I mean, because I think we're reaching a point where it's going to be hard to wake people up who's not aware and even interested in hearing about it. Only thing that can get their attention is when they feel it, and they're going to feel it in their pocketbooks, especially as prices continue to go up, because pretty soon there's going to be no way you can hide the actual cost. And a lot of people say the gas prices at the pump, like right now in Michigan, we like $3.09 or something like that, I noticed today. And so I'm assuming out west it got to be $4-5 already. So you won't be able to hide $6-7 type of gas. It's gonna be obvious, and then your neighbor will listen. He'll listen a lot quicker. Then when a gas price hits a little higher prices, it'll be you have an open ear, and because he'll be like, man, why the damn gas price so high? Like, oh, let me tell you this, and then you go right into why things are the way they are and how they're going to get worse. And so here's a question, and I would love for you to chime in via chat, or more importantly, call in, because I've been meaning to ask this question for a while, but it just hit me right now. Looking ahead in the future, when inflation hits and it's obvious, and they can't hide the numbers no more, because people will feel it more than they feel it now. Because right now, the inflation is big, but it's only in the financial asset bubble, stock market, housing. That's where inflation is at primarily. They consider that, and your net worth has went up. That's what the financial advisors or whatever probably tell you. Your net worth has went up, really, but it's inflated and it's due for correction, and that same correction gonna spill over into your consumer goods. But here's the question: Johnny Miller, is Detroit getting better? Getting better as far as in what point? I imagine. Just getting better. I'll probably say no. Not sure what that's referring to, but it's not getting better because people aren't earning more, but the costs around them continue to go up. And in the city itself, I haven't really been in the city much directly, seeing what the vibe is like, but I know that there's a lot of vacant houses still, and a lot of just empty land that I think might be bought up by now. But in downtown Detroit looks marvelous. They got Dan Gilbert, the Cleveland Cavaliers owner. He owns downtown Detroit, and he's doing development outside the city. So everything looks good from that point. But most people can't afford it. Got a new stadium down there where the Pistons play at, and that's nice, yeah. But people can't afford to go. Parking is an animal down there. It says what? Okay, what my point was. Okay, the question here. I want somebody to call in and share your thoughts on this one, because this is a very good question. I think you guys enjoy this. It says the question is, when inflation becomes obvious and you can no longer hide it, i.e., 10%, 15%, because John Williams Saddle Stats probably say 9. The Chapwood Index probably say 10, 11, 12, depending on what major city you're in. But once inflation becomes obvious, what are some things that you will begin to immediately cut away? Because at that point, unless your income grows along with it, or you got multiple streams where money ain't an issue, most people are going to be conscious of their spending from that point on. And the question will be, what will be some things that you will look to cut off first? What has to go to save a couple dollars here and there? So right now in the chat or via phone, let me know what are some things that you would cut off. What's some things that has to go? Because I've been thinking about that a lot myself. And there's a lot of things that I already don't have in my life. Like I don't have cable TV because I don't watch TV like that. And anything I do watch, I watch via internet. So I pay the price of a full package for my cable just because I like the highest speeds, but I don't need that. So that's one thing that I'm gonna downgrade my internet speed. But anyway, so I'm interested to hear what people have to say. So Home Rock says cable, phone, and vacations. Bunny Money says beer. John Miller, Aldi's make good cheap food. Yeah, Aldi's is the bomb. And Bunny Money, if you got an Aldi's got some great beverages. You won't go bad there. You can get a 6-pack of some nice flavorful stuff there for like $5.99. So, I'll hook you up with some information there if you don't know about it already. It says Spirit King, let go of your job and save a ton on commute money. So yeah, your Spirit, if you let go of your job, that's gonna cut off one of your sources of income. So yeah, that's gonna be interesting to see. But for me, carpooling, Robert McKinney, yeah, most people will be carpooling. I can imagine that. So I'm in my sense, I'm thinking about downgrade my internet speed. That'll save me $50, $60, give or take. Which I can do that now. I'm not sure why I don't do it, but I could do it now. What else? Definitely, having 2 cars and driving both cars won't be necessary. So, and me and my wife we'll probably better map our destinations. We'll probably take 1 car. And I'm thinking like definitely, my children go to private school. Gonna definitely reconsider that. And what else? there's a couple other things. So that right there gonna be a couple hundred to 1,000 right there a month. So yeah, so that right there gonna help temporarily. But I would simply take that, whatever I cut, and put it into something that's gonna increase in value. Ideally some precious metals or some speculative crypto type stuff. So yeah. You said bingo and Viagra. Yeah, lottery. Yeah. Oh man, that's another thing. Like, Delonzo, do you play the lottery or what? That's one thing, man, in the African American community, especially, I notice a lot. And not right, it just, man, I'm thinking, like, I tell myself, I see a lot of the older people chasing that jackpot. I'm thinking, like, you probably spent the jackpot trying to chase that. And so people, I know a lot of people, me growing up, man, especially in the inner city, you know, like, you have your number runners. People used to come to my grandparents' house and take down numbers, and you know, I'm like, it's just, you know, my grandparents would hit the number, and then the guy come bring a couple $100, and it was just, man, like, it's just, I'm thinking, like, man, if you could just take that and just put it in something, just sit on it. If you just put it somewhere solid, somewhere tangible, somewhere that's has the potential to weather the storm, to absorb some of this liquidity that's coming, you could get that back plus some. But most people don't see it that way, and me being a younger guy, I can't really try to preach to the older folk because they already know it all, and most of those people are already in retirement. They're getting a pension, they're getting that for now. But I'm thinking, like, more likely it's not going to be that way forever. So I still didn't hear enough responses of what people willing to give up in order to weather the storm if it came down to that. It says lottery. Yeah, it says that's a good one cooking at home. Good one cooking at home. Yeah, I dialed back on eating out a while back just because I noticed that for a family to eat out the way I like it, I'm a big guy, so to eat the way that I like to eat, I need 2 plates. So that's gonna be $25, $30. So I'm like, I'd rather we eat at home and just go for seconds and thirds. But anyway, that's just me. So what's happening with so side note, next week I'm having a guest join us for a live talk that's going to share some expertise on the AI situation. And so AI is definitely going to impact, you know, everyone's life in one form or another, positively or negatively. So it's all about your willingness to adapt now before it becomes a must-have or must experience in everyone's life. And so me personally, I'm trying to find out as much about AI as I can. Actually trying to, you know, I'm trying to learn hands-on, to experiment with some things on my end, because I believe it's going to be the future. So it'd be best to get involved while it's on the ground floor right now. But so anyway, next week I'm gonna have a guest join us to share his thoughts and his expertise and probably some opportunities on how people can get in on the ground floor. But we'll see. Says John Robert, I said, I think USD will be strong relative to the other fiat currencies. Yeah, John, the Federal Reserve note definitely will gain strength until it itself pops, because it's under the same policy structure as everyone else. So the EU, so the G7 nations are the nations to keep your eye on, and China as well, because apparently China's going through some difficult situations right now. China is a hot mess, but they can kind of be a hot mess because they got so much gold, and they have a structure of the yuan futures redeemable in gold stuff in the mix. They got all these agreements set up. So, you know, they're going to eventually open up their vaults and come true with their numbers. And no matter how much paper they print right now, they're going to easily revalue the price of gold coming from the East. And they also hold a seat on the LBMA, London Bullion Market or whatever. So they're also running that kind of thing now. So they position themselves to make it easier for them to flip the script on the price. So when they're done accumulating all they need to accumulate, and they're ready to back up them papers and digits they've been printing, they're going to easily make each note. I don't know what their currency, what their monetary base is right now, because their numbers is always suspect. But say if they got 10 or 20, 30 trillion dollars of paper out there, they can be sitting on, they saying they got 1,800, 2,000 tons. And supposedly, you know, we're 8,300. Yeah. So clearly, I believe, as well as a lot of other people out here say, that they are sitting on 10, 15, 20,000 20,000 tons. And so say 20,000 tons and $30 trillion. I don't know the math offhand, but say if they put, you know, let me see. Let me throw some. Say if they put a $10,000 an ounce type of price out there, or $15,000 an ounce for gold to back up all the paper they got printed, and they're in a position to be able to do that. That means all their citizens sitting on all that paper are now the world dominating power. They are now sitting on something that we can't match that. I'm sorry, 8,300 tons is not in the vaults at Fort Knox, so we can't match that one way or another. So they're going to open their vaults, say, hey, this is our gold, sure as yours. We don't have any. We're up Schitt's Creek. Oh, well. Then at that point, then at that point, here's the thing. Then at that point, what's the point in holding Federal Reserve notes? once China comes clean, once Russia, we all know Russia's holding their own too. They're not printing money like crazy, so they're in a much better position to say, hey, our vaults are thick. You know, show us your gold. And if we can't show them our gold, then that will let the world know that the Federal Reserve note and treasuries are all a joke, because who the hell needs them? That's it. Game over. Checkmate. We're done, in my opinion. It says, when inflation really hits the high points, I presume the violence and crime will be rampant. Danny, I do agree. It says, when do you think we will see a top in the dollar? Home Rocks, a top in the dollar. Here's the thing. Most people look at the dollar from the most people keep an eye on the dollar from the dollar index, the Dixie as they call it. And so I actually pulled it up here. So most people look at the Dixie from the standpoint of what this international measuring tool is at the moment, and they gauge according to whether it's up, whether it's down, whether it's rallying. And so we all know, let me pull this chart up. 5-year. So here's a Dixie, the dollar index. And so this is it basically, and here's my thing, like this right here, it gives financial advisors, it gives currency traders, it gives the Forex people something to look at. But because we're the current reserve currency, everyone looks at this because it's the measuring tool for their own currency strength. And so you have a basket of currencies, of which the dollar is included. You got whatever the SDR basket, the dollar, the pound, the yen, now the yuan, whatever else. Those 5 or 6 currencies are all in this measuring tool that gives it its current value. And so I've read articles yesterday saying that, you know, the Federal Reserve note, and as far as it being used in trade, it's down a couple percent. So it's been creeping down further and further as far as nations utilizing it solely because there's alternatives out there. So this right here could go up, you know, I'm sure well beyond, like right here it was at 103 back in 2016. It was at a strong point. And of course, because it's high in value in comparison to the other ones, those other currencies are just basically worth less. So they're more pressure on those countries or whatever. And then when the vice versa, those countries are worth more, those currencies are worth more and ours are not. So it makes it more expensive for us to import stuff. So it's all about the devaluing and the race to the bottom. This currency wars, the Jim Rickards book, Currency Wars, you know, my currency's stronger, yours are stronger, you know, just for trade's sake, on sending stuff in and out of the country, as well as doing business with our banking system and whatnot. But at the end of the day, as far as the consumer dollar is what you should be concerned about, because here domestically, it's about the dollars in your pocket. How much is inflation eroding the purchasing power of those dollars? And this ain't got nothing to do with the Dixie, in my opinion. This is all about the monetary policy in our states, what inflation is looking like that at that particular time. Because right now, inflation in Argentina is 20-something%, in Venezuela is 36,000%, and in the EU is definitely much more than 7, 8, 9%. Like they're claiming they're trying to get 2%. So it's all about how much purchasing power can you retain over time. The hell with the Dixie. The hell with what this is looking like in comparison to other ones. They're all going to zero. They're all a piece of crap, in my opinion. So I don't follow the Dixie, whatever, because this is all about trade. How much can you purchase with $1? If you put $1 if you bury $1 in your ground, come back 10 years later, will it be worth $1? No, it's gonna be worth. It'll probably be inflated away. It probably won't be worth nothing. It'll be a souvenir. That's all. Like for example, on a side note, I got souvenirs right here. This one's expired. This was a $100 bill equivalent a couple years ago. When I was in Venezuela, this was $100 bill. Like, you have this, it's the equivalent of having a $100 bill. A couple years ago, this thing was a $100 bill. Right now, today, it's let me see, it's $3.20 worth of purchasing power for me visiting that country, but it says 100. So all this Dixie stuff, whatever, I just think people tend to get caught up in that. And if you're not in the forex and the trading and you ain't making money off of those trades, don't worry about that, in my opinion. Is it a great time to cash in on a monster box of silver? Robert, it's my opinion, it's never a bad time to cash in. It is never a bad time to cash in. Just because, and this is my opinion once again, but it's your legal right as a citizen to be able to redeem your nation's currency for money. I mean, like that video I did a while back last week was everyone has a right, even though the fine print right here is changed, even though it says no longer redeemable for silver, or it doesn't say silver certificate redeemable for 1 ounce of gold, whatever. Even though it don't say that, this contract has been broken. You still have the right as a citizen, in my opinion, to go and redeem it while you still can, because it was positioned and presented to you or to your parents or grandparents, however old you may be able to redeem it for lawful money. So those are aware of history. I would use that right while you still have it. Remember, 3 days after a crisis, people will steal to survive. 4 days after, they will kill you. Yeah. Lots of food, water, solar power, big guns. I'm ready. I can be. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, Scott. But Mike, look at the full 43-year chart. The Dixie is going down. Yeah. Let me see here. I can't. Unfortunately, on this chart here, I can't pull it up. They don't get. That's the thing. All of these financial news sources, they only go back 5-10 years because they don't want you to see the history. Because with the history, you can see that if you just hit max or full to see the full chart, you'll be able to see that every damn thing has been going down. Everything is going down. Treasury's going down. You name it. So they do that on purpose. They only want you to see the last 5 years. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Andor Koval, Sparks, Nevada.
Andor, how you doing, my friend? Thanks for calling in.
Oh, okay. I'm just going to voice some things I thought. What I think is that reason why people don't notice this inflation is it's been going on for a while and it's been slow, and they take it as it's normal for the economy.
Yeah.
And they don't have a hesitation of what's going on. They don't have no, and that's why so many people aren't saying much about it. There's a few of us that are around that kind of see it and stuff, but I think majority of the people just think that this is a normal economy, and that's why there's no one, squawking about it. Like I said, there is a few people doing that.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of the reason. It's been going on for so many years. The dollar's been around for so many years that they take it that's the way it is.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, it's stealth theft. It's slow. I like how people use the idea that, basically if you got a small hole in your bucket and you're carrying it and you're not paying attention to the drops and the trail you're leaving behind you, you're losing that 2% in purchasing power or more per year. So as this graph here I have on the screen is, it's the equivalent of compound inflation. And so for years, I've always heard, especially when I was younger, my mother, and people would just give me sound advice, saying, son, you want to make sure you invest early because of compound interest. And so that's been a philosophy forever until this recent monetary policy that's kind of made that whole compounding interest aspect of a little bit suspect, because inflation is compounding and they're trying to get an inflation target. So this is my idea of a compound inflation. It's been 100 years of steady, slow depreciation of our currency, which is unnoticeable to most people.
Right. I was just wondering, though, what was going to trigger it like they had in the 70s where all of a sudden, bam, everything, and then it's noticeable, and it's too late then, of course,
Yeah.
Where everyone loses faith in the dollar. And all the stuff everyone, a lot of people I listen to, they thought it would have happened 2 or 3 years ago that are pretty sharp people. And on various shows and stuff, and it's hard to know. It's hard to tell. You know, I listen every day on stuff that's going on, but it's undetectable. You know, it's going to happen sometime.
Yeah.
When is the hard part to figure out.
Yeah.
Then it's going to change everything. Because I heard the same thing you did from my parents too. Yeah. Compound interest is the seventh wonder, but now, like you said, inflation is just eroding it. There's no way of saving anything when it takes your purchasing power away.
Man, you just gave me a great idea for a video. The compound inflation, it's going to be the eighth wonder.
Right, that's true. It's spotting this or seeing this is almost. I mean, you'd think with all the stuff that's been happening, with all the debt spending and the deficit spending, that we'd have some hyperinflation. But nothing seems to. It's just been a couple percentage points. Some things I think are counted though. Yeah. I think there's been some things like medical costs are extremely high. Yeah. And I've been through that now. And then there's some things that we purchase from China. You go to Walmart, there's been some inflation in there, but not a lot. Not hyperinflation.
Yeah.
I think people are kind of like don't see it.
Yeah, I think people will really begin to notice something when your discount stores are no longer discount. When it's hard to find your normal item, your discount. Like we take for granted the idea that you can go to Walmart and get a pair of jeans for $9.99. You know, like just
that's true.
We take that for granted. So the moment you go to Walmart and they're either not there or them $9.99 jeans are $29 or $39, and they're still a no-name brand. And at that point, the whole save, or what's their motto, save less, whatever their motto is, won't apply there. Then people are going to be pissed, because that's what a lot of people do most of their shopping for those type of items. So when your toiletries and whatnot, toilet paper and toilet cleaner and stuff ain't cheap, then that's like, you know, that's when the housewives going to be like, hey, something not right here. So yeah, but the compound inflation, man, that's what it is. But watch this. Let me show you my opinion with you. As to why we haven't really felt it or noticed it yet. I believe it's because we're more in a digital age now, and so it's easier to paper over things with digits, and so like I think the 70s, you know, there wasn't, the monetary base wasn't as large as it is now, but at this point now it's easy to just, I mean, I believe, to go to the Fed or your computer and just type in and transfer some funds here and there. Because there's no there's no need to monetize it yet in the form of paper. So like what's the exchange stabilization fund? All these funds that's meant to prop stuff up. They could probably drag this on for a couple years or so. It's gonna be another country that's probably gonna be the trigger, at the way that Lehman Brothers here, as well as AIG, all those triggered it for us. China may trigger it. Italy may trigger it. You know, emerging markets is crumbling, may trigger it, and then they're going to try to digitize that and paper that over, and that's when they may lose control. But as long as they can do digits on the screen, they can probably make this thing go a little longer, in my opinion.
Well, you know, I was listening to Rob Kirby. I don't know if you heard of him. He was a guy that came on one of the shows.
Yep, I had Rob Kirby on.
About that, everything has a life cycle, including the dollar has gone on for 40 years since Nixon took us off the gold cycle. Yeah. And he said that it's gone on and so long, and we're at the end of that. It's like trying to buy insurance. If you're for a 100-year-old guy, he can't get insurance. Yeah. Because, you know, for him to live 120 or 150 is pretty hard. You know, everything has a cycle in life. Yeah. And he was saying something that we're at the end of our monetary. The dollar's at the end of it. It's been 40 years. Yeah. Most of them don't go longer than that, fiat currency. Yeah, like right now, I'm not sure if you're able to look at the screen, but right now I have something I posted on Twitter that if everyone has a Twitter, if you're watching, I'm going to put the link here, but go to Twitter and retweet this so more people can see this. But it's just basically the purchasing power of the dollar, and I just, you know, add a couple things to it. But right over my head here, at 2018, this is going to be the drop-off point right here. And so I truly believe, because it's always been down at that 2-3% or 3 cents, as they say, on a dollar left. I really truly believe it's probably gone a little bit below, because when you think about how this is set up, you know, you usually say, okay, in 1913, what could you have purchased for $1? Then you name, say you name, like, okay, you know, say you can probably get 10 loaves of bread in 1913. In 1965, you could probably got 3 loaves of bread or whatever. And so 2018, you can't get no damn loaf of bread for $1. So that right there lets me know that you are already outside of $1. It's purchasing power wise. So I mean, I don't know my graphs like that, but
that lets me know that it takes more than $1, which means this damn thing should already be off the cliff. You know what I'm saying? Because it takes more than $1.
Yeah, no, I know you would think that, but like I said, people aren't noticing it because they've been used to being. It's like putting a frog in boiling water.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't just die all of a sudden. He just lives with it.
Yeah.
And everyone's living with it now, and no one can detect that there's anything bad, and so they're not. You know, that's why there's not a big demand for maybe gold and silver, because some people think, oh, it's nothing, it's a relic, it ain't going to do anything. And it could be being manipulated. I'm sure it is.
Yeah, clearly.
You know, by the banks and stuff, and to keep it down. But no one's detecting this. I'm just thinking one of these days it's going to be like the 70s. Bam,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden hyperinflation. Then it's going to, like you said, when the women go to the store, they go get toilet paper and all, they're going to see it big time. And it's too late then. It's all too late. It's all gone.
Yeah,
to do
buddy.
anything.
Yeah, and the biggest thing of which we don't know about, and we never hear about it on mainstream sources. You never hear about bank runs and holiday. You know, on Friday banks close, and on Monday they don't open. Like, we don't hear about that here unless you go digging in the news. I've seen some articles, and now you'll have it be smaller banks, smaller little commercial banks, and a regional bank will come in and buy them out for pennies on a dollar and take over accounts. But yet, like there's the Bank of Monte de Paschi in Spain is having an issue. They were bought for $1 by another big bank. But in the meantime, you can't withdraw the type of money you think you want to withdraw. So people don't realize that.
No, you can't.
Pretty soon you can't go. You're gonna have to fill out a form and wait 30 days to get more than, say, $1,000 from your bank, type of thing. If in a worst case scenario. So we're very privileged and blessed right now to have the freedoms and have the opportunities now. It'd be worthwhile if people took more of took more advantage of this opportunity.
I'll give you an example. I did have a problem like that. I had a fellow who had a really nice motorcycle I bought about 4 years ago. And I was in Las Vegas, and he wanted cash. And I went into this big, old, huge bank in Las Vegas. I forgot what the name of it back then. This was 4 years ago. And they couldn't give me the cash. They needed 3, 4, 5 days. Finally, he took a cashier's check to do the deal.
Really?
But I was just shocked that a bank that big couldn't get out the cash and give them, the $100. They didn't have. They said they don't have that in hand. That's what they told me. Now, this was a big bank. It wasn't a small building. I mean, it's the size of a supermarket.
Yeah.
Which really shocked me in Vegas, Las Vegas,
Yeah.
So I just, like you said, people don't have that kind of cash laying around at all.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, most people don't realize that. I think it's by design, because it has to do with the FDIC and all that regulation type of stuff, where banks aren't allowed to keep X amount of dollars in the bank. So all these banks, no matter how big of a chain they are, they're only allowed to have what's probably considered a month or a week or two worth of cash on hand, and they probably may say it's for bank robberies and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you can have probably 1,000 customers in your little small town at that bank, equaling about $20 million worth of deposits. They probably got They probably got $5,000 worth of cash on hand, because people don't, because we're now using cards. So who needs cash when you can use a card? So keep that in mind as well.
Everyone uses cards.
Yeah.
And you can't take out no more. I can't take no more out of my ATM than $500 a day. That's
Yeah.
it. Already restricted.
Yeah.
So if I had to buy something, you came over, you wanted to sell me something, a car or something, I can't get you the cash. I have to write you a check.
Yeah.
And everything everyone buys is with a credit card nowadays. I mean, I don't know how many. You go with gas pumps now are set up. You can't pay cash. You have to use a card.
Yeah.
Unless you go inside.
Yeah. Well,
it's totally digital. Completely.
Well, thanks for calling. I got another call. I want to make sure I get him. Appreciate your comment, my friend. Thank you.
Enjoy talking with you. You have a nice 4th of July.
Thank you. You as well.
Keep up the good work. I enjoy your show.
I will.
Bye.
Thank you. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
My name's Pat from Alabama.
Pat from Alabama.
Gold, 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 gold.
How
Say something about silver for me.
How you doing, Pat? No, yeah, that's the thing. Like, I never meant to exclude one from the other. They're both money in my eyes. So silver. Go ahead and share your thoughts on that.
Well, I look at gold as the pinnacle of holding your value, and I look at silver as an investment. Oh, by the way, please congratulate me. I'm a little bit heavier than I was yesterday.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you, sir. The main question I called to ask, being a fugitive farm laborer here down in Alabama, if they reset, what on earth are they going to reset to?
Yeah, that's a good question. And so that led into what I was mentioning earlier as far as, depending on if they're able to control this restructuring or this reset or this collapse. If it can be controlled, I think they're going to have something digital in mind. And so I've done videos before on something called the Fed coin. And so since we're in that whole we're in the crypto age now, I think we were positioned here on purpose for this time. So I don't think Bitcoin was by chance. I think it was all part of a grand master plan. But I think there's going to be some type of digital rollout that people will be willing to accept if it gets to the worst case scenario, because, if it's the only thing that you can use to get goods and services, you'll be willing to accept whatever. So I don't think it's going to be paper, though, just because we're already too heavily paperized already and digitized with the dollar. So I don't think it's going to be paper. I think it's going to be some type of digital blockchain type of situation initially.
Yeah, the reason it's not going to be paper is because it takes away the transaction between you and another individual.
Yeah, and the whole idea with this is to remove the concept of privacy and your ability to hide things from plain sight. They want everything to be on their blockchain so they can see and control. If they don't like what you're saying or what you're doing, they can just mute you. They can mute your microphone and your transactions and everything else. So I think that's what's
Take away
next.
your birthday.
Exactly. Yeah, and tax you a little bit more if you are not being compliant. So
yeah. You see, now I'm also puzzled about another thing I'm seeing a lot on the net, and I just don't see no basis for it. But talking about Civil War. I mean, us here in Alabama, we should have heard about that first.
Yeah. Yeah, and so apart from, I guess, just some whatever's happening out in Portland right now, and I know over the last couple of summers, keep this in mind, I'm sure you might have noticed, but I've noticed it a lot because they make it a racial situation. But there's always some type of movement, whether it's the Black Lives Matters, whether there was a police officer who killed a young African American, and so the whole city looks to try to riot, and so they're really making racial issues as well as just the sexual type of issues. Now we got the whole Me Too movement, and so they're always looking for some type of movement to cause problems. And there's always some knuckleheads, paid or not, out in the audience that loves to throw stuff or hit somebody. And sure enough, everybody starts swinging or shooting or stabbing. So those type of things are what typically will escalate to some type of war because the next one will be political. Like we got the primaries coming up, and the Democrats, according to what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing, is they're turning against each other. And that's not normal. So they got something planned because you got these people out here saying that, the Democrat Party is not for the people no more. And they're starting to preach that in the African-American community. And that's not normal. So something's up with that. So I'm interested to see how that pans out. But it could be the start of some type of...
I can see what you say there, but I've been to a few wars, and spent 30 years at DOD and been overseas, and I am not patriotic. I am a patriot. I have stood in harm's way for the love of my country and people. These people talking Civil War don't know what blood on the wall and bones laying around looks like. Fresh ones.
Yeah. I wouldn't begin to pretend. Now, let me ask you a question. As a veteran that served, on behalf of our country, so thank you for that. And one thing I always wonder, especially as I become more aware of the other side of the story we're being told when it comes to these type of wars, because I'm believing that there's always some money behind it and some special interests that we're not told about. So they call it bankers' wars. And so the wars that you were a part of, whatever it is that that gave you that fighting spirit to go heads in and say, I'm about to serve my country. Now looking back, do you, now of course, regret or wish you would have known the entire story, or was it still valid in at that particular war or whatever it was you're involved in? Or what are your thoughts looking back now, having served and fought already?
I hope I was led by people with a higher vision than I could attain, and that they were right. That's the only thing a soldier can do.
Yeah.
Then you follow your orders.
Yeah.
You just have to depend on the officers above you and the generals and the politicians, God help us, to make the right decision. Then you go forth and do your job.
Yeah, that's real. That's real, my friend. Well, thank you for chiming in, but definitely I'll make sure to not be so what's it called? Not to be so gold focused. I'll keep it in general, because a lot of people also get mad at me for not mentioning palladium and platinum, but it's just because I personally I've never dip and dabble, just because I stick to what's real, and I'm more of a people's money type of guy myself. So I do, enjoy and I'm very grateful to be aware of the importance of holding precious metals. So a lot of people don't have the opportunity to go down to a store or order something online and have it sent to you type of thing. So we are very fortunate. So, but no, thank you for your call.
I want to thank you, and I want to thank you for the silver message that you're putting out.
Well, thank you, my friend.
Thank you very much, brother.
I appreciate it. Have a good night. Very good call. Appreciate you calling in, man. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Craig Gordon. I'm out of Beaumont, Texas.
Craig from Texas. Welcome, my friend. What's on your mind this evening?
Well, I was listening to the guy from Alabama. And, by the way, give a shout out to him over there in Alabama and Mississippi.
Okay.
But the answer to his question, I saw this thing they had on there, the ads at YouTube that's been running for 2 weeks. It's called Decenterion. They may not actually for him, but
oh, you're breaking up there. I'm sorry. Say that again. You saw the ad. One more time. What was that about? What's the name of the ad?
it was a Decenterion.
Okay. Go ahead.
And the concept is pretty sound. The company may not be because nobody knows it.
Mm-hmm.
But what they were talking about was something that's totally decentralized, where they have the quote-unquote, what they would call that, where it's the same thing with Bitcoin, where it's not under the central bank.
Yeah, so decentralized, yeah.
Yeah, decentralized citizen.
Decentralized.
And the way they do it,
mm-hmm.
but there needs to be some more research done on my part, which I'm currently doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But the way it looks is that they're taking the fiat currency out of the concept completely, and they're making everything as a larger whole collective.
Interesting. So yes, because I got the gist of what you're saying, but the company and whatnot, I didn't get it because it's breaking up on my end, or vice versa. So, but I'm interested in hearing more about that. Can you chime in with that information, the name of that on the chat, so I can look into that myself as well?
Yeah, I'll go on your live chat and I'll just put up there as Decenterion.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, we'll definitely check into that. But thanks for sharing that.
All right.
Appreciate you.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. Yeah, that's interesting. So I got a little bit of that, but it sounds like, I'm curious to Google it because I heard bits and pieces. I don't really want to comment on it because I didn't understand enough, and I want to waste any time trying to butcher it. But anyway, man, that's some good, great calls. I appreciate you guys calling in. What I've been missing in the chat. It says, pretty soon your driver's license, social security, medical card, credit card will be placed on one card. Yeah, and not one card may mess around be in some type of biometrical, thumbprint, eye print, or something of that nature. The goal is to put everything in a single system. And it's and eventually the blockchain is very raw. Like, it's the beginning of the beginning. So everything eventually will go to the blockchain, or whatever other chain they plan on rolling out after that. So that's just my opinion.
The blockchain is very raw.
Hello?
Yes, hi there. How you doing?
Everything eventually will go through.
Good. I actually made the line.
Yeah, can you mute your computer?
Yeah, just 1 second. Hold on. I got you playing there. Okay. Okay,
there you
we're
go.
done. Hey.
Yes.
So I got a question for you. So,
Okay. First of all, what
do you agree?
Sorry to interrupt. What's your name? Where you calling from? Thank you.
My name is Tim, and I'm calling from Colorado.
Tim from Colorado. Good evening, my friend. How you doing? What's your question?
Good, and thank you very much for your show. I much appreciate it.
Thank you.
Do you agree that the root cause of all our problems, I mean literally all our problems, is the Federal Reserve? Because they run the world. Not the Federal Reserve, but
the banking system, the cartel that runs the money laundering system?
Good question. The answer is yes and no. Yes, that's a major part of it, but no, because it's the families and the individuals and their mindset that's behind the central banks. So I believe everybody at the Fed is just doing their job. They're doing what their job description and title is described to do, and they're actually doing a legitimate business model based upon what they were hired to do. The people behind it that started the Federal Reserve in 1913 are the ones that are the root cause. Those are the ones that own everything. Those are the secret type of people. Those are the ones that basically own the earth in regards to how they've monetized and indebted everybody. So it's the people behind the systems I'm more pissed at, knowing it's more of a darker spiritual realm, because I believe, from a spiritual standpoint, Satan has his hands in on that. So, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Let me ask you this, okay? I don't know about QAnon. I don't know whether he's real, and I'm tending to doubt it. But I believe we're in a war between Satan and God right now. Do you agree?
Yeah, we are always under spiritual warfare, correct? Right? Because there is an enemy, there is a saving grace, there's a savior, and there's an enemy. So we're always at war. And it's over us, his children, humanity. Go ahead.
But is it by your individual, or is it a group?
It's the human race. The human race. Okay, just my spiritual sense, my spiritual knowledge. It's the human race. Satan hates humans in general because we were created in his image and likeness, and there's no other creation ever in existence that resembles us. We're the only species that are of this high intellectual capacity. We've been given dominion over this earth, and the enemy, Satan and his demonic forces, are not for that. That's why the whole revolution and the war in heaven, all that stuff like that came into play. And it's all about taking as many people to hell with him as he can.
Agreed, and that's where we're headed. So I'm kind of worried. So where do you think we're going?
Well, a good question would be, not a good question, but the answer is in Revelation. So I'm a firm believer that everything we're experiencing now is nothing new. God knows. And so if we are able to decipher, and if we have spiritual discernment and the wisdom and guidance of the Holy Spirit, we can kind of see how things are going to play off. And at the end, according to Scripture, those that are in Christ will rise again to a new life and a new body on a new earth. That's how this thing ends. Like flat out, like biblically, that's how it ends. New earth, new heaven, kingdom of God comes to earth. God will be with his people like it was intended to be before it was disrupted in the garden. According to Scripture. That's if you believe what Scripture says.
Yeah. But hey, you're making me feel better because I'm having a hard time being positive lately.
I feel you. At times it can be discouraging, but I remind myself in Scripture, and I thank God for the Holy Spirit, because I always get a good word every now and then, and the word that comes to mind is greater is he that's in me than he that's in his world. And that's where I remind myself that no matter what I'm experiencing, what the circumstances look like, what I'm carrying is priceless. What I'm carrying is eternal. You know what I'm saying? So that gets me geek. Man, get me excited, man. Don't do that.
Sorry.
No.
Sorry, but I only got two friends, and you're the third.
Well, thank you, sir.
Truly believe.
Yeah.
That truly believe. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you're one of them.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate you.
And so, I'm still trying. But I mean, things are pretty bleak.
Yeah, I mean, we're in trying times, but that's where faith comes into play. Like, just believing in something greater than myself, and resorting to a good word every now and then will definitely help you along. It's just it amazes me at how powerful and how transcending the word of God can be in any circumstance you face. There's a word for everything you experience, my friend. There is a word out there. You gotta go find it.
I've only met two other people like you, and I've just talked to you once, and they're the same way. I mean, they're so strong, you know, and I don't know, I'm still on the border, you know, but things are pretty messed up, dude, and you got a great podcast.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate you, and definitely, man, keep chiming in, and I try to be of encouragement to whoever, and definitely, I don't do enough sharing of my spiritual side of my life, which I promise to do more of, because that is the anchor that we all should be hanging on anyway, despite all this news and stuff like that. It's all about our faith, because that's one thing that will live on beyond all of this crap. So, but thank you for your call, and I appreciate your compliments, my friend.
Thank you, dude. Thank you. I appreciate it. You have a wonderful night.
Thank you.
Everybody else.
Appreciate you. Yeah, man, that's really encouraging. Thank you for calling, and I just felt I needed that, man. I needed that, and that's one thing, man. I'm gonna go spiritual on you guys, just because I can't deny it. Like tonight, I wasn't thinking about getting online, just because I'm like, just today was one of them days, just ripping, running, busy, a lot on my mind, and I'm a thinker, so I wake up in the middle of the night sometimes with thoughts and ideas and stuff I want to do, not enough time in my day. So definitely, everyone goes through the moments of getting discouraged, but yet, man, I thank God for His Spirit inside of me, because if it wasn't for just all I need is one word or one call like this from somebody out there who, in the same position as me, just, every now and then everybody falls into that moment of just questioning, like, man, is this? But yet, man, like, this Holy Spirit, that's what He's for, and it was by design. God left us a helper, an advocate, and that's what is priceless. But we are at our end of our dime. And so the clock has expired, so I want to definitely, as we get ready to wrap this thing up, as always, appreciate you guys chiming in and hearing me rant or whatnot. It's a way for me to get off all my thoughts and whatnot, and I appreciate you guys for calling in with questions and helping me learn as well, because this is all about you guys having a community and whatnot. So over my shoulder here, all the resources that you guys should check in with, and also I sent a link of my Twitter, Dollar Purchasing Power, if you guys can tweet that so more people can come across it, to introduce the idea of compounded inflation. Free ebook in the link below. We'll get that, make sure, because I believe that this next recession coming will be our last one before we're under a new monetary system. I talk about that in the book. And then Facebook, make sure you guys are following me there. Other than that, everybody enjoy your evening. It's been real as always. Thank you guys for chiming in, and have a good night. Enjoy your 4th. Be safe. Don't eat too much. And I'll see you guys tomorrow night.